Welcome to Mathematics Made Easy with TADX, where mathematical concepts will be explained in clear terms for easy understanding. You can also join us on all our social media handles for more information.
All right, good day, pals, and thank you for having me here again this afternoon. I'm very sure we are going to enjoy today's class together. And before we start for today's class, let me also appreciate everyone for their good wishes, the comments, the likes, and for those that have also been sharing it as well. I'm very grateful, and I'm very sure the goal for this particular project is going to be achieved at the end of the day. And for those that also sent their, should I call it solution, or yeah, the solution, for those that did the exercise I gave in the last class, thank you very much. I so much appreciate it as well. And for the observations as well, thank you very much. We are also going to correct it in one way or the other. Thank you. Now let's roll into action. And for the topic today, we are having simple equations. But before we take the simple equation, just like I said in the last class, that we are going to start today's class from the last two questions we have in the examples that I wrote on the board. Then I explained question 1 to 4, leaving the question 5 and 6 for us to practice. And I'm very sure for those of you that sent your feedback, you were able to get it. Thank you very much for that. And for others, we are going to do it together here. And after doing it, we are going to cross-check. That's for those of you that you were able to send it to me. We'll cross-check what you've done, if it's actually the same way. And there's somebody that I also need to commend. The person used a different approach, and I'm going to use that. That means I'm going to use two methods. I'm going to use the method I explained, and I'm also going to adopt the method the person used. And that's one beauty of mathematics. Any method you like, you use. Your answer is still going to be the same thing, provided your working is correct. So for the person that sends the solution with a different working, thank you for that. It's also going to help our viewers and the fellow mathematicians together. Now let's look at the solution to this. We are going to take the question 5 first. Then afterwards, we are going to take the number 6. For question 5, we have plus 8 minus 5 plus 7 minus 2. Then when I started, I made use of my rough book, which I'm still going to use now. From my rough book, plus 8 minus 5 plus 7 minus 2. From what we did in the last class, using the method I explained, I made it clear that you take the first two here, solve it. Whatever answer you get, you now join it together with the remaining question. Now, what we cycled here is plus 8 minus 5. Evaluating plus 8 minus 5, still take it one after the other. What does plus 8 mean, and what does minus 5 mean? Now, from what we have here, plus means you are the owner. That means you are having 8 naira with you, while minus means you are owing. So in this case here, you're having 8 naira with you, you are owing somebody 5 naira. So when you remove 5 naira from the 8 naira that you have with you, that means you are not owing the person again. But instead of owing the person, you've paid the debt. You now have a balance with you. So that means you are no longer owing. The balance you're having with you is 3. And because it's your own, then you are going to put plus. So that means plus 8 minus 5 gives us plus 3. So where we have this plus 8 minus 5, replace it by plus 3. Now rewrite the question again. That becomes plus 3 plus 7 minus 2. Just like the way we started, take the first two. So I'm going to cycle the first two again. Here we have plus 3 plus 7. Plus means I'm the owner. So just like I did in last class, I'm having 3 naira in the first pocket, 7 naira in the second pocket, and I'm not owing anybody. So since I'm not owing, that means the money is my own. So I'm having 3 naira and 7 naira. So both of them join together, I'm having 10 naira. So this becomes plus 10. Now adding it to the last one, which is minus 2. So if you're able to evaluate that, that will give us the final answer. Now plus 10 means I'm having 10 naira with me. Minus 2, I'm owing somebody 2 naira. Now, when you have 10 naira and you're owing somebody 2 naira, out of the 10 naira that you have, give the 2 naira to the person. When you give the 2 naira to the person, then that means you're no longer owing anybody, but rather you're having a balance with you, which is your own money. So in that case, the balance you're having is now what? 8. Now, since you have the balance of 8 and the money is your own, it's going to be plus 8. So now taking it from the beginning, plus 8 minus 5, that gives us plus 3. Joining it together with this, that means you are going to have plus 3 plus 7. Now, minus 2. I cycled only the plus 3 plus 7, and that gave us plus 10. Now, in conjunction with the last minus 2 that we have here, plus 10 minus 2 gives us plus 8. And that gives us the solution for the first question here. So, writing it out here, we have plus 8. Then we take the second one, minus 4 plus 6 plus 8 minus 10 minus 2. So, I'm still using my rough book again. Let me rub off everything I've written here. So here we have minus 4 plus 6 plus 8 minus 10 minus 2. Wow. This one looks a bit longer. But no matter how long it is, you are still going to get the answer. Taking it stepwisely. We take the first two, we evaluate. Taking the first two, we have minus 4 plus 6. Bring it out. Minus 4 plus 6. With the same explanation, minus means you are owing. Plus means you are the owner. Now, I'm owing one of my friends, let's assume Shegun. I'm owing Shegun 4 naira. And presently, I'm having 6 naira with me. And I remember that, I'm still owing this boy 4 naira. So from the 6 naira that I'm having with me, I give the 4 naira that I'm owing to Shegun. Then after giving him, that means I am no longer owing anybody, but I'm having the balance of what? 2. So with the balance of 2, I write the balance there, and since it's my own, that means it's plus. So where I have minus 4 plus 6 there, I put it as plus 2. Now rewriting the original question, plus 2 plus 8 minus 10 minus 2. Now we want to reduce it again. Take the first 2. When you take the first 2, I'm cycling it. That means I'm having plus 2 plus 8. Since there's no negative here, that means the money is my own. Plus 2, I'm having 2 naira in the first pocket. Plus 8, I'm having 8 naira in the 2 pockets. Now ask yourself, Festus, are you owing anybody? No. Since you're not owing anybody, that means the 2 money here belongs to me. So that means I'm going to be having the balance of 10. And since I'm not owing, then that means the answer is plus 10. So I put it here as plus 10. Writing the question, plus 10 minus 10 minus 2. You don't need to rush yourself again. Still follow the same procedure. Here we're having plus 10 minus 10. Now starting with the first one, plus 10. That means you have 10 naira with you. You are the owner of the 10 naira. Now minus 10. You are owing somebody 10 naira. All the money that you are having in your pocket, bring it out. Give it to the person. After giving it to the person, that means you are not owing anybody again. Now, one good thing we need to observe about 0 is this. 0 does not have positive and neither does it have negative. It's a neutral number. Now, in this case here, you cannot say plus 0 and neither will you say minus 0. So just write 0. Then, rewriting the original question, you have 0 minus 2. 0 means you are not having anybody with you and you are not owing anybody. Now, minus 2 means you are owing. Now, putting it together. Festus, you are not owing anybody and you are not having any money. No. You are owing somebody 2 naira, but you are not having any money with you. So, in that case, what you are simply going to do is tell yourself you are still owing an amount of money. How much are you owing? 2. So, put the 2. Since you are owing, put your minus. So, with this, your final answer is what? Minus 2. So, I come to my notes and I put minus 2 as my final answer. So that marks the end of the exercise, precisely the example I wrote on the board the last time. But for the exercise, for those that send it to my DM, I've been able to attend to them. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to rub off the correction now. After rubbing it off, then we are going to start with the simple equation that we have. All right, so for today we are going to be taking the simple equations. But before taking the simple equation, let's ask ourselves, why do we need this topic? We need this topic because so many topics in mathematics are related to simple equations. That means there's no way you say you want to attempt so many topics in mathematics that if you don't know how to solve equations, you won't have problem even while attempting that particular topic. So before we start approaching or solving problems on complex topics, the more reason why we need to start with simple equations. So that means if you're able to know this topic very well, you don't have any problem as far as mathematics is concerned. So we are going to be taking our time to break this particular topic down to the simplest form. Now, the first thing I'm going to be explaining is this. The three major things that we need to know as far as this topic is concerned. The first one there is number. And I'm very sure all of us have been hearing it and we have been working with it before. And apart from that, the second one is the concept of algebra, while the third one is collection of like terms. Collection of like terms. Now let me start with the first one. Now for the first one here, you talk about number. Now when you're talking about number, you're talking about any digits that comes your way. Be it 4, 5, 7, 17, 18, 32, 33. Even if it's negative numbers, talk about -7, -12, -13, -20, and so on and so forth. Any number that comes to your mind as far as number is concerned, you can put it under this first category. So that means if you know number, you are a step closer to solving what? Equation. Now the next one is algebra. Now for algebra, there you are going to be talking about the combination of a number and a letter. That means when a number and a letter is standing together, we call it an algebra. An example is this: when you have 2x, the 2 in this example here is the number, while the letter is x. That means the two of them standing together gives us what? 2x, which is the algebra as far as this question is concerned. Now let's look at this now. When you have 3y, 3 is the number, y is the letter. The two of them together gives you an algebra. Now let's now look at negative values. You have -7q. -7 is the number, while the q is the letter. The two of them together gives us -7q, which is an algebra. Now let's look at this. -34z. -34 is the number, z is the what? The letter. So the two of them together gives us the algebra. Now, before I will move away from algebra, there's another thing I need to explain. Still working together with algebra, that's the concept of coefficients. When you say coefficients, it's what we are going to be working together with as far as this topic is concerned as well. Now, when you are talking about coefficients, you are talking about the number that is together with that letter. In this 3y that I circled here, the 3 is the number that is standing together with y. That means the coefficient of y is 3. In this place here, which is your 2x, the 2 is the number that is standing together with x. The 2 is the coefficient of x. In this place here, -7 is the coefficient of q. -34 is the coefficient of z. That means even before we proceed, you can just pause the video, give yourself series of examples of algebra. That means any number and any letter coming together. Then ask yourself randomly, out of all these questions that I've given myself, which one is the coefficient, which one is the letter? Now, if you're able to answer that, then that means I've been able to do two things simultaneously. The first one is you've gotten the concept of algebra, which is a plus, and you've been able to get the concept of coefficients. Now, if you're able to do that, that means writing out all these series of questions you've given yourself, let me just say, inside your rough book or your solving notes. If you're able to write it out and you have been able to bring out the coefficients for each of the algebra there, then that means you don't have any problem as far as we are concerned when it comes to equation, because we are going to be working with coefficients a lot. Now, the third one is collection of like terms. When you say collection of like terms, the number and the algebra that we've explained here, by the time you are solving, there will be a time that you need to put all the numbers on one side, then all the algebra you put them on the other side. So if you know how to identify a number and you can also identify an algebra, now when you get to this collection of like terms, all those numbers put them one side, the letters, put them one side. Then I personally advise that when you are doing that, put all the algebra, put it on the left hand side, then the numbers, put it on the right hand side. Now let's quickly take an example to show what I've been saying when it comes to collection of like terms here. I'm going to write an equation on the board. Then after writing the equation, we are going to collect like terms and see what we have been talking about. When you have 2x plus 4 equals to 6, just for example, a bit different from what we have here, but the same way we solve this, that's how we are still going to solve that. But I want to use this one to explain the concept of collection of like terms. Now in this case here, now from what I've explained here, number, algebra, collection of like terms, I've marked the number, I've marked the algebra. So that means by now you can identify a number, you can also identify an algebra. Now in this case, just like I told you initially, put all the numbers on the right hand side. Now when you are talking about right hand side and left hand side, let me quickly talk about this. This symbol, we call it equal to, and this equal to is the is from this particular equal to that we got the concept of equations. Equation is gotten from equal to. That means what you are saying is what is on the left hand side is the same thing with what is on the right hand side. That's just the meaning. That means anytime you are solving any equation, just remember or ask yourself that, okay, left hand side is the same thing as right hand side. Now when you are saying left hand side, after writing your equals to here, what you have here is the right hand side, then what you have here is the left hand side. I call this LHS and I call this RHS. That means in the course of our lecture, it's possible for me to just say RHS or I say LHS. So that means when I'm saying RHS, you should be able to know that I'm talking about right hand side. And we are talking about LHS, I'm talking about left hand side. And there's no way you talk about LHS and RHS without this equal to being available. So as far as we are concerned now, we are talking about collection of like terms here. Put all the numbers on the right hand side. Now when you are putting the numbers on the right hand side, this one here is number, which is 4. This one is what? 6. Now putting the number on the right, that means this 4 need to leave this place here. You need to cross this equality sign to the right hand side. Now when it is crossing it, it automatically becomes the opposite. Now the opposite of plus 4 here is minus. We call it the additive inverse, but I don't want to use that term now. Let's go making use of the normal English way. This one is plus 4. Opposite of plus 4 is what? Minus 4. Now when it gets to this place, it's no longer going to be plus, it's going to be minus. So this now becomes 2x equals to 6 minus 4. Anytime you are dealing with plus, just know that the opposite is minus. If you are dealing with minus, the opposite is plus. If you are dealing with multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. Opposite of division is multiplication. So each time when we get to that stage, I'm going to be explaining it. So from here now, we are already having the number on the right hand side, then the algebra on the left hand side. So what we just need to do is just to evaluate. 6 minus 4 gives us 2. So this becomes 2x equals to 2. Now what we just need to do is just for us to divide both sides by the coefficient of x. Now you only divide by the coefficient of x when you see that from this place here you're having a single value and here you're also having a single value. This one is 2x, this one is also 2. And what we need to do is just for us to solve for the value of the letter, only the letter. Now for the letter to stand alone here, we need to get rid of this coefficient here. The coefficient here is 2, so we divide both sides by 2, divide both sides by 2. This is gone, this is gone, this. So that means you have x equals to 1. So that means as far as this question is concerned, I wanted to use it to explain collection of like terms, but I've solved the whole question. No problem. It's going to help us even when we start solving the question here. But from what we have done, I'm very sure to take the examples here is going to be very easy for us. Now let's see the first solution here. Solution for question 1, we have 3x minus 7 equals to 8. Now I'm going to use an abbreviation. Anywhere I want to write collect like terms, I will just write CLT. So that CLT means collect like terms. So for this first question here, we have an algebra here, we have a number here, we have a number. And like what I said initially, put all the numbers on the right hand side. Now the number here is -7 and the other one is 8. When this -7 is crossing, because numbers are supposed not to be on the left hand side, it's only the algebras are supposed to be on the left hand side. So when this number is crossing to the other side here, it turns automatically to the opposite of whatever it is here. What we have here is -7. The opposite of -7 is +7. So crossing the equals to, now we have 3x equals to 8 plus 7. That means this -7 is no longer going to be -7 because it has crossed over to the right hand side. So we have 3x equals to 8 plus 7 gives us 15. Now from this stage here, it's almost the same thing with what we have here, where we have 2x equals to 2. And when we are having 2x equals to 2, what we did then was to divide both sides by 2. So in this case here now, we are also having a single value here, single value. So the coefficient of x here is 3. For this x to stand alone, we need to get rid of this 3. So that means we divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. This and this is gone. So that means we have x equals to 5. 15 divided by 3 gives us 5. So that means the value of x that we've gotten there is 5. So that means with that, we have been able to solve the first question. So we follow the same procedure we used for the first one to solve the second one. And in this case here, just like the way we collected like terms here, putting all the numbers on the right hand side. So here that we're having +7, we have to put this +7 on the right hand side. When +7 is going to the right hand side, it changes to the opposite of this +7. Opposite of +7 is -7. So that now becomes 6a equals to 25 minus 7, which is the opposite of that +7. Now ask yourself, 25 minus 7 gives you what? 18. So here now we have 6a equals to 18. Now since you're already having 18 there, for you to get a here, what we need to do is divide both left hand side and right hand side by the coefficients of this a. We've talked about coefficients before. That's the number standing beside the letter. So the coefficient of a here is 6. So we divide both left hand side and right hand side by 6. So this becomes divided by 6 divided by 6. So we cancel this, we cancel this. We are left with a equals to 18 divided by 6 gives us 3. So that gives us the answer to the second question. Then we take the third one, which is minus 2x plus 10 equals to minus 8. Now, the next thing we need to do now is just for us to follow the same way we have been solving it before. Now, the way we solved this one was we take the plus 10 to the other side. And when you're taking the plus 10 to the other side, it becomes the opposite of plus 10. And here you'll be left with minus 2x. Minus 2x equals to minus 8 minus 10. Now, from the last class, I've been asking where we are going to apply the concept of direct number here now. Now, applying the concept of direct number, from the last class, minus 8 minus 10. You are owing 8 naira, you are owing 10 naira. You don't have any money with you. So, if you are owing the first person 8, owing the second person 10 naira, you are owing 18 naira altogether. We've done this from the last class, so we don't have any problem with this. So, this now becomes minus 2x equals to minus 18. Then the next thing we need to do is just for us to divide both sides by minus 2, which is the coefficient of this x. So this becomes divided by minus 2 divided by minus 2. So cancel out the minus that we have here. Then cancel this 2. Then 2 in 18 is 9. So that means we have x equals to 9. So that means the answer is 9. Now, if you observe the first 3 questions we have there, the first 3 questions here, all of them, they're having just only one algebra. And the algebra they are all having is on the left hand side. Now, let's now look at this question 4 and question 5. For question 4 and question 5, they have more than one algebra. Now, in this case here, we have minus 2x on the left hand side, and we have minus 6x on the right hand side. For question 5, minus 4x on the left hand side, and minus 12x on the right hand side. Now let's see the way we are going to solve it. For question 4, we have 10 minus 2x equals to 2 minus 6x. Now when you collect your like terms, for you to collect your like terms, what you just need to do is put all the algebra on the left hand side and the numbers, put it on the right hand side. Now the algebra in this place here is minus 2x. Now minus 2x on the left hand side, it still remains minus 2x. Now from the right hand side here, we have minus 6x, and we are putting all algebra on the left. That means this minus 6x automatically comes here. Now when this minus 6x is crossing to this place, it becomes plus 6x. And there's something I need to explain briefly here. When you have 10 minus 2x equals to 2 minus 6x, this minus here belongs to 2x. The minus we have here belongs to this 2x, and the minus here belongs to this 6x. In front of this 10, we have an invisible plus, but we don't write it. So we assume we are having plus 10 minus 2x. Then here, we are also having an invisible plus, which we don't write. So that means, in this case here now, when you are collecting your like terms, minus 2x, that means it's already on the left-hand side. It's not crossing anywhere. Then here, the minus belongs to this 6x. When it crosses to the other side, it becomes plus 6x. And that was what I did here. Minus 2x is already on the left hand side. You leave it as minus 2x. Then minus 6x, when it crosses the other side, it becomes plus 6x. Now we are done with the algebra because we have just only two algebra there. Now going to the right hand side now, that's where we need to put all our numbers. Now putting the numbers on the right hand side, 2 is already on the right hand side. That means you write the 2 and the value like that. This becomes 2. The next number we have here is 10. And just like I explained here, in front of this 10, we have an invisible plus. So that means what we are having here is plus 10. But as a mathematician, you don't write it. That's part of what you need to know. When you're having a number and you're not seeing any negative number in front of it, you know that there is an invisible plus. So here, there's an invisible plus. It's there, but we are not going to write it. So when you are moving this 10 to the right hand side, it becomes the opposite, which is minus 10. So here now we are having 2 minus 10. So the next thing is just for us to evaluate. Now to evaluate minus 2x plus 6x, that means we have to go back to what we did in our last class. That's direct number. Now minus 2x plus 6x. The solution is the same thing as minus 2 plus 6. The reason why we need to go back, or the reason why we have to start from the concept of direct number, because if we had not done this from the last class, that means we have to go back to this particular explanation before we proceed. And luckily for us, we have been able to evaluate this, and this one gives us plus 4. And from what I explained, for this plus 10 here, we don't need to write this plus. Just know that there's an invisible plus that is there. So minus 2x plus 6x, here will give us 4x. Because we know that there is an invisible plus, and the x is what you just need to put there. So here now, we're having minus 2x plus 6x to give us 4x equals to, now 2 minus 10. 2 minus 10 is the same thing as plus 2 minus 10. 2 minus 10. Minus 10. Here we have plus 2 minus 10. Plus 2 because there is an invisible plus. Plus 2, you are having 2 naira with you. Minus 10, you are owing 10 naira. So when you give the 2 naira to the person, you still be owing the person 8 naira. So this gives you minus 8. So that means here I'm going to replace it as minus 8. Now we just proceed. We divide both sides by 4, which is the coefficient of x, divided by 4 divided by 4. This and this is gone. So that means we have x equals to minus 2. And that gives us the solution to the question. Now, after doing that, we have just one question left. And after doing this last question, I'm going to give us a series of questions which we are going to practice with. And after practicing it, as usual, send it to my DM. I'm going to evaluate it. And if you get it, I can still give you more questions. That's if you like. Now, so for this question 5, we are still going to follow the same procedure for question 4. All we just need to do is just to collect the like terms. Here we have minus 4x, which is already on the left hand side. Then the second algebra here is minus 12x. When it crosses this right hand side to this place, it becomes plus 12x. Now we are done with the algebra. So the next thing is just to consider the number that we have here. We have 9, which is already on the right hand side. Then the next number here is 4, which is on the left hand side, but normally all numbers are supposed to be on the right. So plus 4 crosses the equals to become minus 4. So from the left hand side here now, the algebra is minus 4x plus 12, minus 4 plus 12. From the last class, we already evaluated something similar to this. So minus 4 plus 12 definitely will give us 8. So here now, minus 4x plus 12x will give us 8x equals to 9 minus 4, 5. So we divide both sides by 8. So here we are having x equals to 5 all over 8. And that gives us the final answer. Now, we have been able to see the solution to questions 1 to 5 here. Now, let me quickly summarize what we've done so far. Now, when we started, I started with the 3 major things I said we are going to need for this topic, which are number, algebra, and collection of like terms. And for number, I made it clear then when I was explaining that it's just about any digit that comes to your mind. Then for algebra, when I was explaining algebra, I said for the algebra, it means you're having a number and a letter standing together. Now, while they are standing together, the number stands for the coefficients of that letter. So anytime you are dividing, just like when we divided 8 here, we are dividing by the coefficients of that letter. So the coefficients of an algebra is the number that is standing together with the letter. Then after that, I explained the concept of collection of like terms. And while explaining the concept of collection of like terms, I said, then if you want to collect your like terms, put all the numbers on the right hand side, then the algebra, put it on the left hand side. Then after that, we're able to look at all these examples here. So for now, I'm going to truncate the class here, and I'm going to give us a series of questions which you are going to practice. And apart from solving those questions, you can also lay your hands on any mathematics textbook that treats equation specifically. Now, when you are doing it, try as much as possible to follow the procedure. Now, at the initial stage, make sure you don't rush yourself. Follow the steps and make sure your target should be accuracy and not speed. That's when you are still training yourself. Then after you are so sure that you can solve any equation that comes your way, then you can now work on your speed. But at the initial stage, work on accuracy. And I'm very sure by the time we meet in the next class, your performance will have been improved greatly. So for our next class, we are going to be considering the concept of equations with brackets. That means we are still on equation, but this time around, instead of just solving linear equation directly like that, we want to look at equations with brackets. Then maybe subsequently we are still going to look at equations with fraction. Thank you very much. See you in our next class.